As tensions with Iran simmer, a brand new report by the Daily Beast claims a few former Obama administration officials are reportedly in contact with some Iranian government officials and are urging them to stay calm and, quote, don't take Trump's bait. Joining us now, Fox News contributor Leslie Marshall and the editorial director of the Daily Caller, Vince Coglianese. Great to have you both.
Thank you.
Vince, let's start with you.
Hi, Mike.
What do you make of this Daily Beast report suggesting former Obama administration officials are still in contact with the Iranian government?
Well, if the American people wanted 4 more years of the Obama administration, they would have voted for Hillary Clinton, but they didn't. The Trump administration is in office. Remember, the president ran on tearing up the Iran deal and pursuing a better one that actually resulted in Iran not having the nuclear weapons that they're so desperately moving towards, and that the Obama-Iran deal allowed them to do. So now, while the Trump administration is in place, you have a shadow team run by Obama administration officials that's going to try and negotiate on behalf of the United States on their own. That is, you want to talk about undermining democracy? That's what's happening here. The voters decided who they want to do these negotiations, and it is not Obama officials. That's the swamp at work.
Leslie, what do you make of this report?
Well, first of all, I think it's interesting because the headline says Obama officials in the Daily Beast and elsewhere. But if you actually look at the reality, and the reality is that Iranian officials and diplomats, including Zarif, have come to the United States for years. They meet with journalists. They meet with various government and former government employees, including former Obama officials. Right now, we have 2 Iranian hawks in the White House working with the president, John Bolton and Mike Pompeo. It would seem that many people feel, and some agree and some disagree, that the president is really trying to push for a regime change. And I think there are people out there, not just within the United States and not just formerly working for the president, but other allies of the United States throughout Europe that are trying to temper Iran's response. And I want to say one thing about the stopping nuclear weapons. Since we pulled out of the Iranian deal, Iran has been enriching more uranium than they were in the past. And what are they planning to use that uranium for, I wonder?
I know some of the folks I cover my day job on Capitol Hill are worried about former Secretary of State John Kerry and his interactions with the Iranians. Should we be speaking with one voice, Leslie?
You know, I don't think on this issue, we should, but we are such a divided country, and this didn't just happen in the last election. This has been happening in the United States for decades, and not just with foreign policy, but Iran is definitely part of that foreign policy. How do we handle this? What do we do? Some people think sanctions and we squeeze them. But again, the reality in Iran is they have an extremely high unemployment rate. They have a very high male population, young male unemployed population. That's a powder keg, and I'm not sure the squeezing is the best way to go.
Well, there shouldn't be any ambiguous take on this, in the sense that the Trump administration should be the sole voice when it comes to negotiating with other countries, again, because the American people put that guy in charge of that very process. And now he's doing that. And remember, again, I said during the campaign, he ran on tearing up the Iran deal. That's because the American people believe putting the squeeze on Iran is a more effective tactic to actually get them to cease their nuclear activities, because you have the Obama administration turned over billions of dollars of cash, all that sanctions relief that they took away. Where did that money go? It ultimately went to developing their delivery systems, their ballistic missile programs, and spreading terror, of course, around the Middle East.
Well, and if there is high unemployment in the young male population, Leslie, it makes you wonder if there is pressure on the regime there and whether change could be coming from within.
The problem with that, Mike, and I don't disagree that change could be coming from within, but how do you bring about the change and what type of change? What we don't want is to have the mindset, and if you look on social media, it's changed among the youth in Iran greatly from their parents and their grandparents. We have called Iran the axis of evil, and for many years, Iranians have viewed the United States as being that, if you will.
Right.
And that's changed greatly with the youth in Iran. We don't want to be perceived as being the big bag, ugly enemy of Iran. If we want a regime change, we want to be able to work with those leaders. And if we want a more moderate government in place at some point, I just don't think this is the way we're going to get that.
Okay, Leslie Marshall, Vince Coglianese, thank you so much. Have a great weekend.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mike.